Hey folks, Eziel, Lancer on Feral Valley, just doing another Tera 101 series guide here, and what I'm actually going to do is we're going to talk about crystals and the crystal merchants. And so what I plan on doing in this video is I plan on showing you exactly where to go buy the crystals and kind of show you the different variations of the basic ones, and then show you some of the more uncommon ones, and then show you how you can implement and use the crystal functions here. So I'm actually here with Eziel, the crystal merchant. So what I am going to do is let us first talk to Eziel.
Let me help.
So Eziel here has got nothing but crystals for us. He's just a crystal merchant. There's some towns that have crystal merchants, some that do not. I know, for instance, Lumbertown does have a crystal merchant, and then Christicia, I think, does not have a crystal merchant. So make sure that you know where those folks are at, so that way you can purchase crystals. Also remember that specialty shops sell the same crystals as the crystal shop folks, but they're pristine, which means they're a little bit better than what you can buy here. And I'll show you some of the differences as far as with those crystals as well. So to start off with, you've got two different types of crystals. You've got your weapon crystals, and then you've got your armor crystals. One thing to keep in mind here, you'll notice that there's 6 pages here, and there's only 4. With the defensive crystals, there's actually only 10 crystals total that you can actually purchase for each level. So these are our hexage crystals, and then we have pendants, and then we have concocts and grux there, or crux. So we've got those 4 different variations. One thing to remember is that when you look at these crystals, is that they have a very specific armor level. That level is 23 or above. I have noticed, honestly, that is not it's not the actual armor level. It's actually the level of which you are, or what you can equip that armor with. So it's like the level you have to be in order to equip it. Because if you look, you'll notice here that you have like an actual item level, like item level 99. So do not get confused. These crystals here go based off of your level, not the actual armor set levels. So let's talk about the defensive crystals and talk about the different types we've got here. So when you hover over these, you can kind of see some of the things they've got here. We've got your protective hexage, which gives you resistant critical hits 5.4% more than when you're more than below 50% HP. You've got kind of the same thing here, decreased damage when below this. You've got decreased damage, when attacked by enraged monsters. They have all these different variations. And then also you've got these kinds here where you have like a shield that has a potential of activating if you're knocked down or stunned by an enraged monster. Same thing here, kind of similar, but it's just when you're knocked down. Inspiring hexage is just a HP regen if you're knocked down. Relentless hexage is just a maximum HP increase. Fleetfoot is a movement speed outside of combat. And then you've got the grieving hexage, which is an increased mana when you're attacked by a player. And then of course the vigorous hexage here. So these are kind of like your basics right here. These are the 10 that you can get, for your defensive stuff there. So if you're more of like a if you're soloing, I really recommend that you take a look at the vigorous hexage. I really think that this is probably, or the vigorous type crystals. These are really the ones that will help you out a lot more and decrease your downtime, because if you've got like 4 of these in your armor set, that's 4 times 32. That's quite a bit of health that you can regenerate there. If you're in more of a group setting, then you probably might want to do like maybe these different knockdowns, or probably one of these more defensive ones. Honestly though, you're probably going to want to use some of the more uncommon crystals that do a reduction, like based on like a percentage if you're fighting BAMs, or if you're fighting normal monsters, minions, what have you. So you're probably going to want to use those. Let's talk about the weapon ones real quick. You've got 10 plus 6, so you've got 16 total here. Most of these are kind of similar, where you have like a HP is 50% or below, and you increase the amount of critical hits you do, the damage you do to enemies. You've got critical damage against enraged monsters, poison 3 against knockdown enemies, then you've got more damage against knockdowns, and then more attack power against knockdowns, and then more power when attacking opponents from the rear. So and these rear ones are really good for more of the DPS folks, maybe like slayers, warriors, or sorceress. Also more critical from rear, and then you have an increased maximum MP crystal as well, the cunning, and then you have the infuse, which is a regeneration if you're knocked down. And then you've got your glistening here, which is an MP regeneration when attacking from the rear. And then you've got an increased movement speed during combat. I'm going to go ahead and tell you something. I really think that me personally, I like the movement speed a lot better, especially for more of a PvP server. When you're fighting more like BAMs and stuff, it probably, may not be as important. But I think in PvP bouts, it's the most important to me because you can make up that ground on folks if they start running away. And then we've got just a standard MP regeneration. Then we have immediate regeneration when attacking a player. And then for your Lancers and Warriors, you've got additional threat that you can generate. And then, of course, you've got critical hits, do an additional 1.4 times damage when below 50% HP. So those are your basic ones there. So when you go to the armor store, or when you go to the crystal stores, you're going to have, these are your common crystals here. You'll have the ability to kind of get some of these pristine ones. I've actually got a couple here. I've got the Pristine Brilliant Pendant, which is for level 35 or higher, which gives me 32 mana regeneration. If I was to get just the regular one here, it's going to be the Brilliant Pendant here, which is actually only 27. So while 27 versus 32, it's only 5. I've got 3 of these set up right here, which, that's an additional 15 mana per 5 seconds. And then I've actually got an aggression crystal here, which is 9.5%. These right here, I don't believe are sold at the specialty stores, if I'm not mistaken. And then on the defensive side here, I've got the Pristine Regeneration one, and this is, I think, a pretty big telling sign here, the differences. So you've got your Vigorous here at 61 per 5 seconds. Well, this one is 72, so it's 11 more health times 4, so 44 more health per 5 seconds I get to regenerate with using Pristine versus using just the regular ones. Now, let's also talk about the like uncommon ones here. I chose these because I'm more defensive, but you can kind of see here, these are uncommon crystals. These are basically crystals that will drop from mobs as you're attacking them. So you can buy these on the broker sales, or you can get them off of drops. So like on here, I've got a decreased damage flat out for normal monsters by 6.2%. I've got one for enraged monsters, 6.8, and then I've got 7% for minions and 5.4% for bosses. So I've got these different variations, and these ones right here for more of your in your face DPS or tanks are really more important, I think, when you get into dungeons and fighting BAMs when you're in a group setting, because that will reduce the amount of healing that your priest or your mystic has got to do. Now let's talk about the crystals and how you actually utilize them. I'm going to close the shop down here. If you look, you've got all these different crystals. What you can do is if you right click on the crystal, it will remove them and take them off. If you right click on them, they will basically be put back in place, just like so. The one thing to remember, do not sell your armor sets or put them on sale and leave your crystals in there, because they will stay in there and they will be sold with them, and you get no money as far as with actually selling those. So that's pretty much it. There's not really a whole lot to the crystals other than what I might recommend is if you go to the Lancer guide, I've got a link on there which is actually specifically for one of the players actually wrote a pretty good crystal guide as far as with everything. I'll have to find that link, and I'll post that link up as far as on the actual YouTube video channel here, and that way you guys can check that out. I've got to make sure I've got that. I may not have that on there. I know that Nalfine's Warrior Guide actually has it on there for sure, because he uses it to talk about things. Oh, actually I do have it on there. So it's actually created by Deioth, D-E-I-O-T-H. So I'll link that in here, and then also there's another topic on TeraElite.com, which was provided by Sir Cuddles, which talks about some different variations on different crystals and kind of how they work, which ones are good. I mean, in a nutshell, you want more damage with lower life or more damage in general, you're going to be more DPS, whereas on myself, I'm a Lancer. I want more sustaining threat. I want more, health, and also more, mana regeneration there. So that's why I kind of opt for those, and I solo a lot more by myself. The only thing I do keep on me is I will keep, generally some of these defensive crystals on in case I go to do a dungeon, and I'll just kind of swap them out when we get into doing that right before we start fighting a BAM. So utilize the crystals. I mean, they do drastically change things for you as far as in either PvP or whenever you're doing BAM fights or dungeon fights. Definitely recommend utilizing them. And one thing to remember too is that with just your common items, like your white items, you can put 2 crystals in there. Your I think your green items are 3 and your blue are 3, and then you've got your gold, which are 4, if I'm not mistaken. I may have to kind of check that out a little bit there and kind of see, like I've got a blue, yeah, blue item here is 3, so, and your green items are 3. So we'll keep that in mind, you know, when you're starting to look at upgrading to different types of weapons and stuff. If there's not a huge difference as far as with attack or anything like that, but you've got that 1 extra crystal, it may be more beneficial to actually utilize the crystal rather than switch over to a different weapon that may be just slightly higher, but losing that 1 crystal slot. So hopefully you guys have found this helpful. If you got any questions, comments, as always, leave them on the YouTube channel or find me on the Tera forums, and look forward to hearing back from you guys down the road. You guys have a great time and happy hunting.